Chosen one, let me ask you something personal. Have you ever sat at a desk surrounded by people doing what the world calls a normal job and felt like your soul was suffocating? Have you ever wondered why you can't just go along like everyone else? Why every time you try to fit in, something inside you starts breaking down? If so, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. This message is for you, and it has reached you at the exact moment you needed to hear it. That's not coincidence. That's divine timing. You weren't created for ordinary. You were never meant to settle for a path that millions walk mindlessly. You have a divine calling, a spiritual purpose, and a prophetic destiny stamped into your very soul. And because of that, what works for others will never work for you. You may have tried to convince yourself otherwise. You may have tried to shrink, to conform, to bend, to play along. But something always goes wrong. Your spirit rebels, your peace disappears, and your energy feels hijacked. And that's not failure, that's your spirit rejecting the counterfeit. Chosen one, this isn't just a motivational message, it's prophetic. You're in this moment right now because your spirit is tired of pretending. You came here looking for answers, and I promise you, what you're about to hear will change how you see everything. This is your confirmation that you are not lazy. You're not unstable. You're not confused. You are chosen, and your soul is at war with anything not aligned with your heavenly assignment. Let me be clear with you. You weren't built to clock in and clock out for someone else's vision. You weren't sent here to spend your life doing things that keep your light hidden and your gifts dormant. That's why normal jobs make you feel like you're dying inside. That's why no matter how hard you try, you never feel settled in places others seem to thrive, because you were sent to disrupt, not to comply. To awaken, not to fall asleep. This message is going to break some mental chains off of you. It's going to give language to what your spirit has been silently screaming for years. And if you feel it already stirring in your chest, I want you to pause for a second and drop a 777 or a 444 in the comments. Let the universe, the spirit, and this entire tribe of chosen ones know you're waking up. You're hearing the call. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel, tap the bell icon, and share this with someone you know is struggling to fit into a world they were never meant for, because this is more than a video. This is a divine appointment. You didn't come across this by accident. Heaven led you here. You've been trying to survive, trying to make sense of why everything normal seems abnormal to you. You've doubted yourself. You've been misunderstood, labeled as rebellious, inconsistent, unstable. But the truth is, you were never meant to fit in, because you were born to stand apart. Your energy was designed to break systems. Your heart was wired to chase purpose. Your soul was never meant to be rented out by the hour. So stay right here. The answers you've been waiting for are coming, and what I'm about to reveal will not only explain why you can't do normal jobs, but also what your spirit was built to do instead. Welcome to your wake-up call. Your divine blueprint, not made for the mundane chosen one. Listen closely. The reason you feel resistance when you try to live like everyone else is because your soul carries a different blueprint. Your life is not random. You weren't born just to pay bills, follow routines, and disappear quietly. You are here on assignment. Your very existence is part of a divine orchestration that began long before you were born. That strange feeling that you're meant for something more. That's not imagination. That's memory. Your spirit remembers what you agreed to before you even entered this world. You see, before your body took shape, your soul said yes to a mission. That mission required courage, obedience, vision, and the willingness to walk a path most won't understand. That's the divine calling on your life. That's why you've never been able to settle, even when everything around you looked good on paper. That's why the job that seems perfect to others feels like spiritual imprisonment to you, because your blueprint isn't built for comfort, it's built for calling. Most people are content with structure, with schedules, with predictability. And that's okay. But you, chosen one, you are different. You thrive in the unknown. You awaken when the Spirit speaks, not when the alarm clock rings. You crave purpose over routine. Your soul wasn't made to repeat tasks, it was made to create movement. And that's why trying to live a mundane life feels like betrayal to your spirit. Because in a very real sense, it is. There's a sacred fire inside of you. You may have tried to ignore it, quiet it, or dim it to make others comfortable. But it always comes back stronger. That fire is the signal of your spiritual purpose. It will never let you rest until you begin to walk in alignment. The longer you try to mute it by following what's normal, the more your inner world will rebel. And that rebellion can look like anxiety, restlessness, fatigue, or even depression. Not because something's wrong with you, but because something sacred inside you is being ignored. You carry a prophetic destiny, which means you are hardwired for divine disruption. Your presence is meant to shift atmospheres, to shake systems, to wake people up. That energy isn't welcome in places that thrive on repetition and compliance. You weren't built for office politics. You weren't born to survive paycheck to paycheck in a job that buries your light. You were designed to lead, guide, heal, speak, build, and awaken. And every time you try to conform, your soul will push back, hard. This is why you've had such a hard time fitting in. This is why no matter how many interviews you pass or jobs you land, something always feels off. It's because the chosen one career path isn't found on job boards. It's found in surrender, in listening to the nudges, in trusting the divine roadmap, not the world's resume checklist. And I need you to hear this. Just because your journey looks unconventional doesn't mean it's unstable. In fact, your divine blueprint is more stable than anything the world could ever offer. Why? Because it's backed by eternity. It's not bound to economies, industries, or corporate ladders. It's rooted in divine intelligence, unchanging, all-knowing, and perfectly timed. Many chosen ones wrestle with guilt for not succeeding in traditional roles. But what if the very reason you're uncomfortable is because heaven refuses to let you settle? What if rejection is actually redirection? What if your dissatisfaction is sacred? You were made to walk by revelation, not repetition. You were designed to hear spirit, not managers. Your reward is not a pension, it's purpose. And your fulfillment doesn't come from a job title. It comes from alignment. So if you've ever wondered why you can't just be normal, now you know. It's because you were not made for the mundane. You carry something eternal, something holy, something revolutionary, and that blueprint inside of you is about to awaken in ways you've never imagined. Stay with me, because we're only just beginning to uncover why your soul refuses to conform and where it's truly meant to soar. Why normal jobs exhaust your spirit. Chosen one, you've probably asked yourself, why does this job drain me more than it should? Why does a simple 8-hour shift feel like it's pulling your soul out of your body? You may look around and see others doing just fine, smiling, laughing, grinding through the week like it's nothing, but inside you, it feels like something's dying. That's because it is. Every day you stay in an environment that's not aligned with your divine calling. Your light dims. Every hour spent doing what you're not meant to do is spiritual exhaustion masquerading as normal fatigue. This is not burnout in the conventional sense. This is not about lack of motivation or poor time management. This is spiritual misalignment. When a chosen one steps into a space that does not resonate with their frequency, the soul starts signaling distress. You may notice it as heaviness in your chest, a fog in your mind, or a constant nagging sense that something is off. That's your spirit protesting against the illusion. It's telling you, this is not where we belong. Normal jobs, those built on routine, control, repetition, and performance, are systems that were not designed with the chosen in mind. These systems require submission to structures that often suppress creativity, silence intuition, and ignore divine timing. But your energy flows from a different source. You weren't wired to trade hours for dollars. You were wired to follow purpose, revelation, and impact. And when you suppress that design just to get by, your spirit begins to leak energy every single day. You may have noticed how quickly your peace evaporates in certain jobs, how your body tightens before your shift even begins, how your mind rebels at the idea of doing the same thing day after day with no deeper meaning. That's not laziness. That's spiritual truth rising up inside of you. Your exhaustion is a message. Your fatigue is a warning. It's not just your body that's tired. It's your soul screaming for alignment. The truth is, normal jobs exhaust you because they ask you to pretend to care about things that don't matter. Pretend to serve purposes that don't align with your mission. Pretend to act busy when your soul is bored. Pretend to be small when you were born to be expansive. That act of pretending takes energy. It drains your life force faster than any physical labor ever could. And you feel it deeply, even if you can't always explain it to others. You may have even tried to force yourself to adapt. You told yourself you just needed to work harder, get more organized, or develop better habits. But no matter how much you push, the inner resistance doesn't go away. That's because this isn't about performance. It's about placement. You're not in the wrong because you're not performing well. You're in the wrong place because your spirit isn't being fed. And here's something powerful. When you're in the right environment, doing what you were meant to do, you gain energy, not lose it. Time flies, ideas flow, your body feels alive. That's what happens when you're in alignment with your spiritual purpose. And that's what you've been missing. The world has conditioned people to accept fatigue as normal, to accept that everyone hates their job. But that's not your portion. You were never meant to survive work. You were meant to thrive in your assignment. There's a huge difference between labor and purpose. Labor drains you. Purpose fills you. And if all you're doing is laboring, then no matter how stable the paycheck looks, your soul will eventually revolt. You were not built for captivity. You were built for calling. You're not a worker bee in someone else's system. You are a spiritual vessel designed to shift energy, elevate consciousness, and release divine wisdom through your presence. That doesn't happen in places where you're silenced, numbed, or misused. That only happens when you step into the space your soul recognizes as sacred ground. So if you've been wondering why you come home exhausted from work, why your dreams feel distant, and why your light feels dimmer lately, now you know. It's not because something is wrong with you. It's because the environment you're in is too small for the spirit you carry. Stay close, because in the next message, I'll show you exactly why the world system was never built for someone like you, and how your prophetic destiny is calling you to something far greater. The world system versus your soul's design. Chosen. 1. The clash you feel every time you try to function in the world system is not a flaw. It's a signal. It's a deep, holy reminder that you were never supposed to fit into the structures that govern this world. The system you were born into was not made for someone with your divine wiring. It was created to contain, control, and conform. But your soul's design was crafted by heaven to liberate, illuminate, and lead. The world's system is built on cycles of repetition. Wake up, work, repeat, obey without question, trade time for money, settle for comfort, fear the unknown. That system is obsessed with predictability, deadlines, and obedience to profit. It teaches people to bury their desires, dim their light, and trade their true self for stability. But you, chosen one, are different. Your spirit does not respond to manipulation or limitation. It responds to truth, freedom, revelation, and alignment. That's why the system constantly feels like a trap to you. Because it is. You've probably been told that you need to be more consistent, more grounded, more realistic. But what the world calls realistic, heaven often calls restrictive. The very rhythm of the world is out of sync with the spiritual clock you walk by. You're tuned into divine timing, divine nudges, and spiritual downloads, not quarterly goals, performance metrics, or robotic schedules. And every time you try to override your soul just to meet worldly expectations, something within you begins to collapse. You must understand this. Your soul's design is a living blueprint of purpose. It's not meant to function like the masses. You were built for spiritual flow, not mechanical grind. Your energy, your voice, your presence, it all carries frequency. But the world teaches you to ignore that and just follow the system. Do what's safe. Stay where it's predictable. But predictability is poison to your purpose. The world promotes success that looks good on the outside. Degrees, titles, positions. But none of those things matter if your soul is starving. You can have a 6-figure job and still feel like you're slowly dying. You can have accolades and still feel empty. Because for you, success is not about applause. It's about alignment. And that's where your true power lies. Chosen one, the reason you've been frustrated is because you've been trying to fit a divine calling into a system built by men. You've been trying to shrink a sacred mission into a box that was never meant to hold it. That's why the system keeps rejecting you, or why you keep rejecting it. Because your spirit knows the truth. You were not made for the world's design. You were made to carry heaven's frequency into the world and shift it. You're here to disrupt, not to duplicate. You're here to build new ways of being, not to survive the old ones. That's why your resistance is holy. That's why your discomfort is sacred. Don't numb it. Don't apologize for it. Honor it. Because your prophetic destiny will never be fulfilled through conformity. It will be fulfilled through courageous obedience to the divine rhythm that was placed inside of you. So stop judging yourself for not fitting in. Stop thinking you're behind because your journey doesn't look like others. You're not behind. You're ahead because you're aligned with a blueprint that transcends time. And the more you embrace that, the more clearly you'll hear the voice that's been guiding you all along. The voice of your Creator, calling you out of the system and into your assignment. And that, chosen one, is where your freedom begins. Signs. Your job is killing your purpose. Chosen one, I need you to hear this with clarity and courage. Just because something provides income doesn't mean it's feeding your purpose. In fact, there are jobs that pay well, but cost you your calling. There are roles that bring comfort, but slowly smother your soul. One of the most dangerous traps a chosen one can fall into is mistaking survival for purpose. And if you've been feeling off lately, uneasy, frustrated, or spiritually numb, there's a reason. Your current job might not just be draining you, it might be killing your divine purpose. Let's talk about the signs. First, the constant inner resistance. It's not the usual Monday blues. It's a soul-level pushback that starts before the workday even begins. You wake up and already feel heavy. Not just tired, but disconnected. Almost like your spirit wants to stay asleep just to avoid the reality of the day. That's not normal. That's your soul screaming, "We're not supposed to be here." Another sign is the loss of your voice. You used to dream. You used to have ideas. You used to feel passion in your bones. But now you're quiet. You keep your head down. You do what you're told. Your creativity is shelved. Your vision feels foggy, and your light is barely flickering. That's not because you're unmotivated. It's because you're misplaced. Your environment is starving your gifts. Then comes the emotional suppression. In the wrong job, you begin to numb out. You stop feeling deeply. You laugh less. You speak less truth. You find yourself smiling when your soul is weeping inside. You become a version of yourself that others can tolerate, but not the version you were born to be. That's spiritual suffocation, and it's deadly to your destiny. Pay attention if your body has been breaking down. Recurring headaches, anxiety, fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, sudden loss of appetite, or unexplained physical discomfort. These aren't just random symptoms, they're somatic cries from your inner world. Your body is in communication with your spirit, and when your spirit is being silenced, your body will start sounding the alarm. And perhaps the most alarming sign, your dreams are shrinking. You used to think big, you used to believe the impossible, but now you've reduced your vision to what's practical. You've started saying things like, "maybe one day," or "it's just not realistic." That's not wisdom, chosen one. That's your light dimming under the pressure of a system that was never designed to honor your prophetic destiny. If you feel like you're spiritually asleep at work, walking through each day like a ghost of yourself, that's not normal. It's a red flag. If you feel like you're betraying your soul just to collect a paycheck, that's not adulting. It's abandonment of your divine assignment. You're not here to just exist. You're here to awaken, to build, to speak, to shift the atmosphere. You didn't come this far to settle for spiritual silence. Your presence is too powerful. Your gifts are too rare. Your purpose is too prophetic. If you've seen even one of these signs in your current situation, it's time to reevaluate. It's time to ask the deeper questions. Because staying in a job that kills your purpose might keep your bills paid, but it will keep your soul bankrupt. This is your moment of awareness. This is not about fear, it's about freedom. Because once you recognize the signs, you can start to shift. You can start to listen again. And you can begin the process of stepping into alignment with the divine calling you were always meant to follow. You're not being ungrateful. You're being awakened. Trust that. And don't ignore what your spirit is telling you. Purpose is knocking. Will you answer? The role of suffering in your career path. Chosen one, there's something most people won't tell you. Your suffering wasn't random, especially when it comes to your career path. The rejection, the confusion, the repeated job losses or breakdowns, they weren't punishment. They were prophecy in disguise. Every closed door, every failed interview, every job that drained the life out of you was actually a divine message. This is not your home. You see, suffering plays a very specific role in the life of a chosen one. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to deliver you. The pain you felt in jobs that didn't align wasn't just discomfort. It was heaven's way of shaking you awake, pulling you out of systems and cycles that could never carry your divine calling. Without that pain, you might have stayed. You might have compromised. You might have gotten comfortable in a place meant only to be temporary. Let's be honest. Some of the jobs you lost, you didn't want to leave. You begged God to help you keep them. You questioned yourself when it didn't work out. But now, looking back, you know deep down that staying there would have cost you something sacred. Maybe your voice, maybe your creativity, maybe your sanity. Suffering showed up not as an enemy, but as a boundary. A holy boundary that said, "You don't belong here. I'm moving you forward, even if it hurts." You're not unstable because you've had many jobs. You're not lost because nothing ever seems to stick. You're being reshaped for something that can't be found in corporate handbooks or professional titles. You are being carved out for spiritual purpose, and the path to that calling is rarely smooth. It often looks chaotic, but that chaos is sacred. Sometimes suffering forces you to let go of the illusion of control. You may have had a clear career plan, a vision board, a 5-year strategy. But when you're chosen, heaven reserves the right to override your schedule, because your prophetic destiny is too important to be left to human logic. That's why nothing logical has worked for you. That's why the plan you tried so hard to follow keeps collapsing. It's not failure, it's realignment. Pain is one of heaven's loudest languages, and when your soul has forgotten its way, suffering often becomes the compass. The tears you cried after being overlooked or mistreated at work, they weren't wasted. They were seeds. Seeds of clarity, seeds of courage. Seeds that will one day grow into a career that's not just a job, but a calling. And I want you to hear this clearly. Your suffering is also your training. Every place that broke you also built you. Every workplace that rejected you also refined you. You were being prepared to carry something bigger than a paycheck. You were being prepared to carry divine instruction, healing, revelation, and truth. That kind of responsibility requires crushing, stretching, and fire. You're not behind, chosen one, you're becoming. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's isolating. But it's also prophetic, because suffering doesn't mean you've been abandoned. It means you've been marked, and your soul knows it. That's why it never lets you settle. That's why the same fire that burned you is now starting to illuminate the next step. So if you're still in the midst of the struggle, take heart. The pain is not the end, it's the passage. And if you've already come through it, understand this. Your next move will make all the suffering make sense. Because where you're going, your old self couldn't go. But the you that suffering shaped, the you that fire refined, that version is ready. Suffering didn't stop your calling. It confirmed it. And it's through that very suffering that your true career, your soul assignment, will rise. Chosen ones are built for spiritual assignments. Chosen one, let's make something clear right now. You were not sent to this earth to simply earn a living. You were sent to fulfill a divine mission. While the world chases careers, promotions, and retirement plans, your soul has been craving something deeper, and that craving is not confusion, it's confirmation. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were built for spiritual assignments, tasks that shift lives, awaken souls, and carry light into dark places. From the moment you took your first breath, there was a frequency around you. Something in your presence made others either drawn to you or disturbed by you. That's because the assignment on your life has always carried a different energy. You're not just another person in the workforce. You're a carrier of spiritual keys, an activator of destinies, a vessel chosen to do heaven's work in earthly spaces. This is why you've struggled with regular jobs. It's not just about hating the routine or feeling bored. It's because your spirit wasn't made for repetition. It was designed for revelation. The kind of jobs you're truly called to are not posted on typical job boards. They are whispered into your soul through divine encounters, dreams, spiritual nudges, and the still small voice that keeps saying, "There's more." So, what kind of assignments are chosen ones built for? You're built for truth-telling, for healing, for creating, for teaching, for elevating. You're here to guide others back to their own purpose. Whether it's through speaking, writing, counseling, coaching, creating spiritual content, starting soul-driven businesses, or simply walking in such light that others feel safe to become themselves. Your career is spiritual, even if the world doesn't label it that way. That spiritual pull you feel when you're in the right space, that burst of energy, that clarity, that joy that overtakes you, is a sign you're operating within your design. You'll know the difference instantly. When you're aligned with your divine calling, work doesn't drain you. It fuels you. Time seems to move differently. Ideas come easily. Doors open without force. That's the mark of a spiritual assignment. Effort turns into flow. But don't be surprised if this calling makes you look strange to others. Not everyone will understand why you walked away from a secure job. Not everyone will understand why you would choose the unknown over a clear path. That's okay. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be obeyed by the Spirit that lives in you. And that Spirit isn't interested in your comfort. It's interested in your calling. Some of you are already operating in your spiritual assignment, but fear is holding you back from going full in. You keep one foot in the safe zone while your soul is crying out for expansion. Let this be your sign. It's time to walk in it fully. You didn't come this far just to balance spiritual purpose on weekends and side projects. Your entire life was designed to reflect your mission, and the more you step into it, the more provision, clarity, and supernatural help will meet you. And for those of you who still feel unsure, still questioning what your spiritual assignment is, stop looking for a job title. Start listening to what gives your soul peace. What stirs your spirit when you speak it? What makes time disappear when you do it? What have people always said? You carry effortlessly. That's where your assignment hides, in the overlap between what heals you and what helps others. Right now, comment 999 if your spirit feels the pull. If you know deep down that you were made for more than what you've been settling for. Speak it out, because even that act of declaration begins to realign your energy with your truth. You're not late. You're not behind. You're being positioned. And everything you've been through, the jobs that didn't fit, the roles that drained you, the confusion you've carried, was preparing you for this clarity. Now you know. You're a chosen one, and you were built for spiritual assignments, not man-made roles. So walk boldly, walk with intention, because your mission is waiting for your full obedience. The prophetic destiny ahead of you. Chosen one, there is a reason your life has been anything but ordinary. There is a reason you've been pulled in directions that others don't understand, broken away from paths that looked promising, and wrestled with questions that won't leave your spirit alone. It's because your life isn't random, it's prophetic. And what's ahead of you is not just a career, not just a path. It's a destiny written in the language of heaven before you ever arrived on earth. You didn't just stumble into this season. Every shift, every disappointment, every uncomfortable job, every soul-level frustration, it was shaping you, molding you, and positioning you for what's coming next. You see, your life carries a divine storyline, and you are approaching a turning point where all the scattered pieces begin to align. This isn't the end of your search. It's the beginning of your activation. What lies ahead for you is not just success, it's impact. Your prophetic destiny doesn't revolve around titles or salaries. It revolves around assignments, awakenings, and legacy. You are not here to be known by the world. You are here to be recognized by heaven. You're not chasing influence. You're becoming the influence. Your voice, your presence, Your very energy will begin to shift the people and spaces around you. That's what your destiny holds. There are specific people waiting for your obedience. Souls who won't awaken until you say yes. Destinies that are tied to your courage. Places that won't shift until you walk in. And that's why your journey has felt so heavy. Because heaven trusted you with weight that few could carry. You've endured pain, confusion, rejection. Not because you're cursed, but because you're called. Your destiny involves building something that outlives you. It might be a movement, a message, a platform, a ministry, a book, a course, a safe space. But whatever it is, it will carry the fingerprints of the divine. It will speak to people's spirits, not just their minds. It will break chains, restore hope, and redirect lives, and it will all begin with your alignment. The Spirit has been preparing you, often in secret, often in silence. But now, the preparation is giving way to positioning. This is the season where purpose begins to speak louder than fear. Where what used to confuse you now starts to make sense. You'll look back at your detours and see direction. You'll look back at your losses and see leadership being formed. If you've been asking, why me? The answer is simple. Because you're built for this. Because your soul chose this path. Because heaven saw something in you that this world hasn't seen yet. But it's about to. And not because you chase it, but because you embody it. The light on your life cannot be hidden much longer. So don't be afraid of what's ahead. Don't let fear talk you out of destiny. What's coming will stretch you, yes, but it will also fulfill you in a way nothing ever has. You will feel alive again. You will feel seen by God. You will finally feel like you're walking the road your soul always knew existed. Chosen one, the prophetic destiny ahead of you is sacred. It's powerful, and it's waiting for your yes. Not when you feel ready, but now. Because your spirit has already been prepared. All that's left is for you to step forward boldly into the future that was always yours. How to transition from normal work to divine work. Chosen. 1. It's not enough to know that you don't belong in normal jobs. You must also learn how to walk out of them and into your divine work. And yes, that transition can feel uncertain. You might worry about money, fear failure, or wonder what others will think. But let me speak truth to your soul right now. You were not born to survive. You were born to serve heaven's agenda. And when you start walking in obedience, the provision, protection, and power you need will meet you at every step. This transition doesn't begin with a resignation letter. It begins with a realignment of your heart. You must first get clear on who you are in the Spirit before trying to find what you're meant to do in the world. You are not just someone with ideas. You are a vessel. And your assignments won't be found through logic alone. They will be revealed through spiritual sensitivity. So, begin by asking, Spirit, what have you placed inside of me that this world needs? That question unlocks the direction you've been waiting for. The next step is surrender. That means loosening your grip on control. Many chosen ones delay their destiny because they keep trying to plan everything. But divine work requires trust. You won't always know how the bills will be paid. You won't always know who will support you. But if you're truly stepping into your divine calling, heaven takes responsibility for your journey. That doesn't mean you quit recklessly. It means you begin the transition with intentional obedience, little steps that lead to big freedom. Maybe it starts with creating content that reflects your truth. Maybe it's starting a side project that aligns with your soul. Maybe it's writing, teaching, mentoring, healing, building something spiritually rooted. The point is, don't wait until everything is perfect. Start now with what's in your hand. Start with the idea that won't leave you alone. Start with the skill you keep hiding. Because that very thing might be the door to your spiritual assignment. During this shift, fear will speak loudly. It'll tell you you're crazy for leaving what's stable. It'll whisper, "What if it doesn't work?" But let me remind you, your spirit already knows what will happen if you stay where you don't belong. That's why you're restless. That's why you're watching this video. Because your soul is more afraid of staying stuck than it is of stepping forward. You don't need to leap blindly. Create a bridge. If you're still in a job right now, let your divine work grow quietly alongside it. Use your off hours to build what feeds your spirit. Use your weekends to write, speak, serve, create. Be faithful with the small moments. Heaven always expands what you steward well. And when the time is right, that small seed will turn into a harvest that can carry you full time. One of the most powerful things you can do during this transition is declare your identity. Speak it. Own it. Say things like, "I am no longer a worker of the system. I am a vessel of divine assignment." Speak these truths until your spirit believes them more than the fear. Your words are weapons, and during transition you'll need them. Surround yourself with spiritual reinforcement. Don't walk this shift alone. Find others walking similar paths. Watch teachings that stir your soul. Listen to what fuels your mission, not what feeds your doubt. This journey requires spiritual focus, and every distraction is a delay. Chosen one, don't wait for validation to begin. Don't wait for applause to feel qualified. Begin now. Begin messy. Begin while you're still unsure. Because clarity comes through movement. And what seems foggy now will become crystal clear once you step into obedience. Your divine work is not just a job, it's your contribution to the healing of this world. It's your light, your essence, your voice being used for something eternal. And that kind of work cannot be compared to a paycheck. It carries rewards that ripple across time and spirit. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. You don't have to leap all at once, but you do have to begin. Make the move. Take the step. Build what your soul keeps dreaming about. Because once you taste divine alignment, you'll never crave normal work again. Divine timing. Why now is your turning point chosen? 1. Listen closely. There is a clock that governs your destiny, and it doesn't follow the time of this world. It doesn't care about your age, your resume, or how long you've been waiting. It moves according to spirit. And that divine clock has just struck something powerful over your life. This moment, right now, is your turning point. You may have wondered why you're feeling what you're feeling at this exact time. Why the old job suddenly feels unbearable. Why the idea of settling has started to sting more than ever before. Why you can't silence the inner voice urging you to move, shift, release. That's not coincidence. That's divine timing. The Spirit is stirring something new inside of you, and your soul knows it, even if your mind can't fully understand it yet. There are windows in time, divinely ordained windows, when heaven opens specific doors. These moments carry weight. They don't happen often, but when they do, they shift everything. And you're standing in one right now. You didn't find this message by accident. You didn't stumble into this truth by mistake. Heaven has been aligning circumstances, conversations, and even discomfort to push you into position. You may think you're late. You may feel like you missed too many chances, but let me speak this with boldness. You are right on time. Divine time is not controlled by clocks. It's controlled by calling. And when your calling activates, it brings everything into divine order. The pain you've walked through, the delays you've survived, the jobs you've lost, the inner wrestling, it was all preparing you for now. This is the season where clarity comes, where what was once confusing now makes sense. You'll begin to look back and see how each detour was really a direction. Every door that closed wasn't rejection, it was redirection. because heaven didn't want you to settle in a place that would suffocate your destiny. Divine timing means the shift you've been praying for is already in motion. It may not look dramatic, it may not feel like fireworks, but in the spirit, things are rearranging. Your path is being cleared. Your gifts are being stirred. Your name is being whispered in rooms you haven't entered yet, but you must respond, because divine timing doesn't force, it invites. That nudge you feel to leave behind what no longer serves your purpose, that's heaven knocking. That creative idea that won't let you go, that's a seed from spirit. That urgency to take the next step, even though you don't know where it leads, that's the signal that your soul is synced with divine rhythm. Chosen one, you're in a sacred moment. Don't sleep through it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't delay because of fear. When heaven calls, your answer must be now. Not when it makes sense, not when you feel ready. Now, because obedience in divine time multiplies results in ways effort never could. The world will tell you to wait until you're more secure, more stable, more experienced. But the Spirit is saying, move now, and I'll make the way clear. That's how chosen ones walk, by faith, not by familiarity. And this moment, this exact season, has been divinely designed to shift you out of the ordinary and into the ordained. So step forward. Don't look back. What's coming is greater than what you're leaving behind. This isn't just another season of life. It's the turning point your soul has been waiting for. And everything changes from here. What the scripture says about spiritual workers. Chosen. 1. Many have tried to tell you that your value comes from the kind of job you do, the title you hold, or the income you make. But Scripture tells a different story. It tells the story of those who were called, not hired. Appointed by God, not approved by men. It tells the story of spiritual workers, those chosen to carry divine assignments on earth. And you, whether you realize it fully or not, are part of that lineage. When heaven assigns someone to spiritual work, it doesn't look like the world expects. It rarely comes with applause or easy acceptance. It usually comes with resistance, wilderness, and a breaking away from the normal. Look at Moses. He wasn't called while sitting in an office. He was called in the desert, alone, tired, trying to escape his past. But God still said, "Go, I am sending you." Moses didn't have the resume, but he had the assignment. Jeremiah tried to disqualify himself. "I am too young," he said. But God replied, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." That's how spiritual work begins, not with human qualification, but with divine ordination. And that's the same energy that's been surrounding your life. The tug in your spirit. The call you can't explain. That's not pressure. That's purpose. Even Jesus himself did not choose the most educated, the wealthiest, or the most qualified to walk with him. He chose fishermen, tax collectors, and everyday people who were willing to drop what was normal to walk in something eternal. Why? Because spiritual work is not about status. It's about surrender. Paul, who wrote much of the New Testament, once hunted believers. Yet after his divine encounter, his life completely shifted. He gave up everything, status, security, reputation, to become a servant of the divine message. His tent-making job became secondary. His real assignment was to build spiritual foundations across the earth. That's what happens when the divine calling overtakes a life. It reroutes everything. And let's not forget the Proverbs 31 woman. Often misunderstood, she wasn't just a housewife. She was an entrepreneur, a leader, a spiritual guide for her household. Her work flowed from wisdom, not from worldly ambition. Her hands built, but her spirit led. That's the balance of a chosen one, working through purpose, guided by spirit. Scripture is filled with people like you, those who never felt like they fit in, who didn't belong to systems, who were uncomfortable in normal work, and every single one of them had a moment of clarity where they chose divine obedience over worldly comfort. That's the invitation before you now. Spiritual work may not always be recognized by the world, but it is always backed by heaven. And when you walk in it, you begin to align with what God intended for your life from the very beginning. You stop surviving and start serving. You stop laboring in things that kill your light and begin building things that expand the kingdom. So if you've been wondering if your sense of calling has any biblical foundation, let this be your answer. Yes, it does. You're not imagining things. You're not running from responsibility. You're running to responsibility, the kind that echoes in eternity. And you're walking a path that has been walked by prophets, messengers, teachers, and servants of light for generations. The scripture doesn't say the world will understand, but it does say, many are called, but few are chosen. And if you're still here, still watching, still sensing that tug in your spirit, know this: you are one of the few. Your work is spiritual, your mission is sacred, and heaven is ready for you to rise. The consequences of ignoring the call. Chosen one, I say this with love, urgency, and truth. Ignoring your divine calling comes with consequences. Not because God is punishing you, but because your soul was designed to thrive only in alignment. And when you stray from that alignment, your spirit suffers. You may keep moving, keep working, keep showing up in the world, but something within you begins to decay. When a chosen one turns away from their spiritual assignment, life doesn't stop, but it starts to lose meaning. The passion that once burned inside becomes a whisper. The clarity you had as a child fades into confusion, and the energy you once carried turns into exhaustion. That's because your soul knows when it's living beneath its design, and no amount of money, comfort, or approval can fill the void that divine disobedience creates. One of the first signs of this spiritual drift is restlessness. You might change jobs, move cities, or try new ventures, but nothing satisfies. You're chasing something that can't be caught externally. It can only be awakened internally. That ache you feel, it's not failure. It's the sound of your calling knocking again and again, waiting to be answered. Then comes the emotional numbness. You stop dreaming. You stop creating. You become a version of yourself that just gets by. You begin to settle, not because you're at peace, but because you're disconnected. That's the cost of ignoring purpose. You forget who you really are. And slowly, the fire becomes ash. And yes, sometimes heaven allows certain things to fall apart, not to destroy you, but to redirect you. That job you lost, that opportunity that slipped away, that relationship that couldn't hold your truth. These were not failures. These were rescue missions. Because the longer you stay off course, the louder the spiritual consequences become. And the more you resist, the heavier the correction feels. But the most heartbreaking consequence of all, wasted time, moments that could have been used to build something eternal, get spent surviving the temporary. And while grace always gives second chances, the lost time won't return. That's why now matters. That's why this very moment is sacred. Yet even now, even in the weight of this truth, there is hope. If you're still breathing, it's not too late. If you're still listening, the call is still alive. The Spirit doesn't stop calling, it simply waits. And when you finally say yes, everything that's been held back will begin to move. Heaven has been waiting on your obedience, not your perfection. So don't ignore the call. Don't silence your spirit to please the system. Don't trade your light for a life that doesn't reflect your truth. because the consequences of delay are real, but the rewards of obedience, eternal. Your calling is not a suggestion, it's the blueprint of your being, and your time to honor it is now. Your spiritual energy is a gift. Protect it. Chosen one, your energy is not ordinary. It's not just mental strength or physical stamina. It is spiritual power, and it radiates directly from your divine connection. That's why people are drawn to you, why they come to you for advice, for healing, for presence, because what you carry is rare. But what most people won't tell you is this: if you don't protect your spiritual energy, it will be drained by environments that don't honor it. Normal jobs, toxic spaces, and lifeless routines are some of the biggest thieves of divine energy. And you've probably felt it. You walk into a place and immediately feel heavy. You engage in a task and feel your light start to flicker. That's not in your head. It's spiritual truth. Your soul knows when it's being pulled out of alignment, and it sends a signal: fatigue, tension, emotional dullness. These aren't just human responses, they are spiritual alerts. You were never meant to use your sacred energy for things that keep you small. That energy is meant for building truth, lifting others, receiving divine insight, and walking out your prophetic destiny. Every time you give your power to a job that doesn't align, to people who don't value your presence, or to tasks that shrink your light, you're depleting your spiritual reserves. This is why some of you feel exhausted even when you've done nothing. Because spiritual energy doesn't just get used up by action, it gets drained by misalignment. And if you're constantly in a place that demands your energy but gives no spiritual return, you're slowly dimming the very gift that makes you who you are. Chosen one, it is not selfish to protect your energy, it's sacred stewardship. You have to become intentional about where your time, attention, and presence go. You can't pour into places that poison you. You can't keep giving your light to systems that demand you to shrink in order to stay. When you protect your energy, you make room for the spirit to move. You create space to hear divine instruction, to receive downloads, to operate in clarity. Your energy is your compass, and when it's clouded, you wander. But when it's clear, you step boldly into your divine path. So ask yourself, who or what is draining me? And what do I need to release to get my energy back? That answer will set you free. Because the more you guard your energy, the more powerful you become, not by force, but by frequency. Your spiritual energy is a gift. It's rare, it's radiant, and it's heaven-born. Don't waste it trying to survive in a world you were sent to transform. Protect it, cherish it, and use it only where your soul says, yes, this is mine. A message to the confused chosen one. Chosen one, if you're confused right now, if you're unsure, overwhelmed, or questioning everything, you're not alone. And you're not lost. You're in the in-between, the sacred space where your old self is fading and your true calling is beginning to rise. Confusion is not failure. It's a sign that your spirit is awakening to something greater, something your mind hasn't fully caught up with yet. You've been taught to doubt your instincts, to second-guess the pull in your soul. You've been told to stay safe, stay practical, stay realistic. But your spirit was never built for smallness. That restlessness you feel, that uneasiness in your job, your routine, your surroundings, that's not weakness. It's divine disruption. It's heaven shaking your world just enough to get your attention. Because comfort is no longer your teacher. Alignment is. You may not have all the answers right now. You may not even know what the next step looks like. But your soul does. Deep down, beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the pressure to get it right, your inner knowing is still speaking. And it's saying, you were chosen for more. That more isn't about fame or fortune. It's about fulfilling your purpose. It's about showing up as who you really are, without apology or permission. Don't let the confusion make you forget what you already know in your spirit. You were marked from birth, set apart, designed to carry a message, a presence, a power that this world needs. And if you feel unsure now, it's only because your old identity is dissolving to make room for the truth of who you are. So breathe. Be still. Trust that this confusion is not a curse, it's a crossroads. And from this place, something sacred will rise. You don't have to rush. You don't have to figure it all out today. Just keep saying yes to the truth, yes to the pull, yes to the voice inside that refuses to be silenced. You are not broken, you are not behind, you are becoming. And the path will reveal itself as you walk it. One step, one prayer, one moment of trust at a time. Final prophetic word, heaven has jobs, not the world-chosen one. Hear this clearly. Your job was never meant to come from the world. It was meant to come from heaven. The world offers titles, salaries, and systems. Heaven offers assignments, mantles, and missions. You didn't come here to fit into a role crafted by man. You came here to fulfill a design authored by God. And right now, that divine design is calling your name. You may have been told you're not employable. You may have been passed over, underestimated, or misunderstood in every workplace you've entered, but that's not a curse, that's confirmation. The world didn't hire you because heaven already appointed you. You don't need approval from a boardroom when you've already been marked by the Spirit. The job you've been trying to find out there is actually locked within you. It's not in the listings. It's in the light, your gift, your energy, your unique way of seeing, speaking, healing, building, shifting atmospheres. That's the work heaven needs you to do. That's the reason you've never been satisfied doing normal things. You were designed for sacred work, and sacred work rarely comes with a job description. Heaven has jobs, real ones, assignments that carry weight in both time and eternity, positions in the Spirit that shake systems, transform lives, and open doors for generations. These aren't small tasks. These are divine movements, and they require vessels who are awake, surrendered, and ready. Vessels like you. Don't worry if you don't see the full picture yet. Heaven doesn't always give details, it gives direction. Your job is to follow the pull, listen to the voice within, and move when the cloud moves. As you obey, clarity comes, provision comes, opportunities you didn't apply for, rooms you didn't expect to enter, and resources you couldn't earn. They will find you. Because heaven funds what heaven calls. This is your activation moment. You've been searching, questioning, waiting. Now it's time to accept the truth. You're not unemployed. You're heaven-employed. Your shift doesn't start when the world recognizes you. It starts the moment you say yes to the divine work already written into your soul. Chosen one, walk in it. Speak in it. Build in it. Rest in it. Because from this day forward, you don't work for the world. You work for the kingdom, and the kingdom is ready to move through you.